Hey, look out. It's Faith Talk Live. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
Hey, we're pumped to talk to this amazing pastor, Pastor Jerrod Rumley of Shadow Brook Church in Swanee. Pastor, how are you?
I'm good today, fellas. Thanks for having me on.
All right, I've got to ask you a deep spiritual question before we get into anything else. Is it, and I even lived in Lawrenceville. So is it Suwanee or is it Swanee?
Yeah, being a guy that came here from California, I would have said it's Suwanee. And I was quickly corrected by the locals that it's Swanee, like SW.
Yeah.
So why do we have the U there is the question.
Right.
They're trying to be like they're French or something where you have extra letters that you don't need, or
I'm just trying to be Swanee, I think.
One thing's for sure, we lived in Gwinnett for 10 years, about 10 years before we moved to Walton. And Swanee continues to grow and explode. And it's just amazing. I'm so glad you're there. Thanks for bringing up that you came from California. What did you pastor out there? You go to school out there?
I went to, my ministry started in Texas, and then for a brief time in Little Rock, Arkansas with Fellowship Bible Church. And then I joined a church plant in Fresno, California in 2006 and was there for 10 years as a campus pastor, teaching pastor for a multi-site church. And then desired and felt a call to a lead pastor role, and God led us here to Georgia.
Now, did you grow up in Texas, or were you just in
Oklahoma boy, born and bred,
Okay.
with Oklahoma State, and so first 21 years of my life were there, and then we tried to visit all around the United States in ministry.
The good way of saying you moved around a lot.
That's right.
No doubt one of his favorites, Texas. Dan's a Texan, and if we don't have a Texan on a couple times a week,
I get an itch. And
it doesn't go.
I can scratch that today for you.
It doesn't go well with the rest of us. What do you think prepped you for your time now from to Swanee there at Shadow Brook? I mean, you've spent a lot of time and did a lot of amazing things. What do you think you picked up over the years?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting journey for a pastor that starts in the youth world, then moves to adults and begins to gain experience. I think what has been lost is that kind of guy who can fill an associate role for a good 10, 20 years and serve somebody else, make another pastor look good and serve the church, and then use the wisdom and gained experience to step into the role. I wasn't ready to church plant, and looking for Georgia, I knew I could help revitalize and bring an existing church to health again. And that's exactly what God had for me. So those experiences for the first, 15 or so years of ministry really helped shape the revitalization effort that's underway here in Georgia.
Now, we were talking before we got started about how Shadow Brook got started. You said back in the 80s, back when there was one road and there were two churches, you and the Catholic Church. Tell us about how it's kind of developed since then.
Yeah, Shadow Brook started as a church split. And so they had folks who wanted to be evangelistic and very missional and reach lost people. They were in a church that wanted to stay the same as it was for the last several years. And so they split and started Shadow Brook here in Swanee and met in the fire station that exists right near town center that's, moving to a new location. Mm-hmm. But it really started with a heart of evangelism. And like any organization or church life cycle, it went through periods of growth and blessing and I think impactful ministry. But when I had come, I discovered that the church was losing people and money for the last 20 years. And part of that was due to the expansive growth of Gwinnett and just the boom that happened and trying to be aware as a church what was going on around them.
Love the mission statement, living out the gospel as we gather and go. It's not just gather and it's not just go.
Correct.
It's both. How important are both of those connected?
Yeah, I think what's even more important than both of those is getting the gospel right. And what that means is it's something that's been done for us. It's news that we proclaim. It's the hope of the Savior who came to redeem the lost. And in that, his commission is that we do a great commission of reaching people. So we're to evangelize and baptize, but we're also to disciple. So we teach them to obey all that he commanded. So for us, we didn't want to be a place that was satisfied with Sunday and my 70 minutes of being a good person and getting some good message, but it actually compelled us to live differently Monday through Saturday. And so it's a both and. It's just like the Great Commission. It's evangelism and discipleship for us. And so we try to live a holistic gospel lifestyle here.
Jerrod, what are you seeing among your flock there? Because it's a tough time right now in our world.
Sure.
That comes as no surprise to anybody. With COVID and politics and everything. What are you seeing, and how are you loving on people there?
Yeah, I'm really proud of where our church has landed. I have a lot of brothers in the ministry who are quitting. We're learning that guys are leaving the ministry at alarming rates.
Mm-hmm.
They probably thought the divisions would have come in church over theology and practice, but it's over politics and masks.
Hmm.
And our church has just done really good making primary issues primary and secondary issues secondary. And so we've been trying to help everyone along, but we're facing the same things every church is facing. I do get a sense, being in some organizations, some cohorts around the country with other pastors, that there's a real pruning in a good way that's happening. And we're seeing what the church is made of right now,
Yeah.
and who's going to be glorified. And it's our heart here at Shadow Brook that you get an impression of who Jesus is, what he's done, what he's said, and what he's calling you to do about it. So I'm really, really proud of our church who's fought through those things. We have our issues just like every other church.
Hmm.
The grass isn't greener anywhere else. And I think what God is doing is pruning. He's purifying. He's calling up what it takes. There's a culture, in my opinion, that's changing. It used to benefit you sociologically to be a Christian. That's fading away. And so we're seeing what we're made of, which if we'll just read church history, and we'll see the movements and revitalizations of God, we'll know what we're in for, which is a good thing. The best promises is that he's not going to leave us alone along the way.
Hmm.
Talking with Pastor Jerrod Rumley, Shadow Brook Church in Swanee. Yeah, I think you hit it on the head there. I mean, we've talked to a number of people, everybody, like you say, everybody going through the same thing. But, it's been for years, it just seemed like that it was just glam. And I'm not talking about, Shadow Brook Church, but it's glam. People show up, they get, hear a message, and then there's no discipleship, no change. Now we're seeing discipleship just cropping up.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like we've never heard it before. Oh my gosh, discipleship. But it's a beautiful thing. And I think you're right. It's just been a shaking and to say, okay, this is what we're here for.
Yep.
You've got to be
really interesting too is we are in Gwinnett County, and within 15-20 minutes of Shadow Brook are 5 of the nation's top 20 largest churches. And we've actually found that we're a refugee ministry, a word that people can identify with. We find people who may come to a glam or a seeker space that's hyped up with shows and smoke. They may see the Lord and taste and see that he's good, but then at some point they grow with the Spirit inside them and they need something more. So as a place committed to expositional teaching and working through books of the Bible, verse by verse, we're finding ourselves regularly taking care of burnt out, broken mega church folks and hurting and community gospel desiring people, which is a lot of fun.
Good stuff. Yeah. Jerrod Rumley is the pastor there. I'm sorry, Dan, did I cut you off?
No, go ahead.
Shadow Brook Church. I noticed, I looked at your staff there. You've got an amazing staff. You've got Hector, Jordan, Andrew, Garrett, Michael, and Michael. How important it is to have like-minded team with you. And you mentioned it really when we first started about being associate pastor for some years and being okay with that. How important is that to have like-minded folks around you?
I think it's vitally important. I think anywhere you see elder pastor in the Bible, it's always in plurality. And it's something I wanted to commit to in coming here, that I'm just one of many equals. The single-led elder church model, I don't see as a biblical model. And too much rises and falls on one man. But when you work in a plurality and really you look to the one shepherd, Jesus, and act as an under shepherd, you reflect more of the plurality in decision making. So it's been absolutely wonderful. We have the best guys leading our church, faithful, humble men who don't want a platform, who don't want to be known, but to serve the Lord. And it's reaping a harvest right now, which I'm encouraged by.
Have you Jerrod, what are you excited about with the church coming up? Anything, events or whatnot that people can find out more about the church that you're excited about?
Yeah, we just actually hosted a parenting conference with Ted Tripp, which was a lot of fun. He came and helped young families learn how to shepherd a child's heart based on his book. We have a weekday school that's doing good things in the community and a fall festival coming there. We're starting a new series this week, which we're really excited about in Matthew. We've got 68 weeks planned to take us through the spring of 2023 to look at this Jesus and how he came and what he did for us, the redemptive story. So we're really excited about that. Every Christmas we do a song and story that Hector leads, which takes familiar passages and promotes them in creative, artistic ways. We want to be a church of the artist too, and be the best creators of visualization and music and reading and song and all those things. So we're really excited right now while we're trying to battle all that's going on in culture too, and stand for the good stuff, stand for the good news.
I can't believe we're talking about Christmas already.
Yeah.
That's just crazy.
We're like Costco. Costco's already got the decorations and presents out. So we're just with the times.
There you go.
And no doubt you've been listening to Christmas shoes already. There's no doubt there. My gracious.
Not to happen. Hector, our worship pastor, actually has a Spotify list of the worst Christmas songs ever.
Oh, really?
And,
I'll have to check that one out.
The Christmas shoes is near the top.
Yeah. Yep, I would have to agree.
Yes. Pastor Jerrod Rumley, lead pastor at Shadow Brook Church. Check it out. It's in Swanee. And as I mentioned, Swanee has just exploded and continues to grow. What a great place to check out and plant yourself there. Shadow Brook Church.
Thank you guys, and appreciate the work that you do. Thank you for having me on.
Our pleasure. We got to take a break. We'll be right back. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
This is Faith Talk Live.